Welcome to the Gentle Ledger. Today is Monday, January 26th, 2026, and the market feels like the soft whistle of wind through open windows, calm, tentative, and eager to begin again. Now, let's turn softly to the U.S. indexes, where stocks resumed trading with modest but steady gains after the weekend. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose about 0.6%, closing at 49,412.40, a reassuring step back toward broader participation. The Nasdaq Composite added roughly 0.4%, finishing near 23,601.36 as technology shares found gentle support after recent volatility. The S&P 500 climbed about 0.5% to close at 6,950.23, regaining a bit of ground from last week's retreat. Meanwhile, the Russell 2000 slipped about minus 0.4% to finish near 2,659.67 as smaller stocks held onto gains from last week's rally but paused for consolidation. It was a market that felt ready to engage without haste or strain. Gently moving into the corporate highlights, individual stocks told a story of selective strength mixed with nuanced caution. Baker Hughes stood out among the leaders, rising about plus 5.2% on stronger than expected profit results that underscored resilience in energy technology and services. Microsoft moved higher by roughly plus 1.3%. helping to underpin the Nasdaq's upward drift as software and cloud demand narratives held steady. Apple edged up near plus 0.9%, balancing optimism about iPhone sales with prudent positioning ahead of earnings. In contrast, Intel remained subdued after last week's earnings miss, drifting about minus 2.8% as chip demand questions lingered. Procter & Gamble added about plus 1.1% as defensive consumer names found modest bids, while Goldman Sachs climbed roughly plus 1.5% as financials regained favor with the renewed risk appetite. These moves together painted a picture of thoughtful rotation, capital finding its way gently back toward narrative strength rather than reacting abruptly. Overseas, in Asia and Europe, the mood carried across gently with subtle regional rhythms. In Asia, markets showed mixed but measured responses. Japan's Nikkei 225 inched higher, while China and Hong Kong benchmarks traded with restraint amid local economic signals. South Korea's Kospi mirrored the Nasdaq's uptick as tech and industrial exposures regained modest footing. In Europe, the FTSE 100 DAX and StoxX 600 advanced on the day, buoyed by eased tariff headlines and the prospect of clearer macro direction. Across regions, investors seemed willing to engage after last week's shifts, but without the urgency that marked earlier volatility. In commodities and bonds, the story unfolded with quiet intensity beneath the equity calm. Gold continued to hold near record territory, having recently traded above $5,100 per ounce, as safe haven demand remained strong even amid equity gains. Silver also stayed elevated near $108 to $115 per ounce, reflecting ongoing interest in precious metals. Oil prices were slightly softer, with WTI near $60 to $61 per barrel and Brent around $64 to $65, as broader risk sentiment stabilized but supply narratives stayed nuanced. In fixed income, U.S. 10-year Treasury yields edged modestly lower, balancing safe haven flows with renewed equity engagement. Turning now to the newer corners of finance, in crypto land, the tone reflected broader market sentiment, steady, integrated, and mild. Bitcoin hovered near the high $80,000 to low $90,000, showing modest gains that mirrored equities rather than diverging dramatically. Ethereum and other major tokens also moved gently higher, aligning with the cautious return to risk. These movements suggested that crypto assets remained tethered to overarching market mood, neither leading nor lagging but present within the broader narrative of calm re-engagement. As this trading day settles into evening, let's rest in the reflective summary and outlook. Today's session felt like a thoughtful return to motion, indexes rising in concert, leadership spread across sectors, and asset classes balanced between confidence and caution. After last week's swings and headlines, today's gains felt less like a rebound and more like a gentle re-entry into rhythm. Tonight, let this balanced cadence carry you into rest, calm, grounded, and ready for what lies ahead. Good night.